Okay, today we're going to work on 8.5 day 2. And yesterday we spent some time working on finding the common denominator, realizing can we add these, can we not. Find the common denominator. Once you get that common denominator, multiply both fractions by whatever is missing in your common denominator and then add or subtract straight across. And so today what we're going to do is we're going to do something very similar to this, except for quite honestly, the fractions become a little bit more complicated. So here we are with the first one. My eyes immediately go to the denominators. Are the denominators the same? And in this case, yes, those denominators are the same. So that means I can add these. So I'm thinking equals, and I put 24 over x. So now I'm going to combine like terms. So I have 3x plus 3x, which is 6x. I have negative 6 plus negative 6, that's 0. So there's my answer. Now, when I do this, when I see this particular answer, I always take a little bit of time to look at this. Well, that is a good answer, but I want the best answer. I notice that there's an X in both the top and the bottom. Well, I can get rid of that. I also notice that 6 goes evenly into 24 4 times. So that means 6 divided by 6 is 1, and 24 divided by 6 is 4. So that my answer ends up to be just simply 1/4. But again, we always want to look to see, can I reduce this? I always want to try that, but we're just trying to, this is question number 1 and example number 1. So I'm kind of just happy, just making sure that I got that. Leaving at 6x or 24x would have been fine for the first problem. When we do enough of these and we practice this enough, that's not, that's not going to cut it. And we'll be just better than that. So we don't need to worry about that for right now. So here I go to the next problem. Again, hey, the denominators are exactly the same. That means my fraction is going to have x plus 5 in the denominator. So now let's start combining. There's a couple things that make me nervous about this. I don't like that subtraction sign in between there. I find it way too easy to forget to subtract correctly. So I'm going to change that subtract sign to an add, and I'm going to change the signs of everything after that to the opposite in the sign. Now it's an add problem, and I don't have to worry about remembering, is this minus negative or anything else like that. I'm going to add these up. So I have 4x plus negative 1x. Well, that's 3x. I have 7 plus 6. Well, that's 13. Now, I always take the time when I get done, I take the time to see, can I reduce that? Well, remember, it's all or nothing. I can cancel all of it or none of it. So that x plus 5 that's locked in. I can't cancel that because above there, I don't have an x plus 5. I know I see that x and I want to cancel that off or cross that off, but I can't do that. So I'm going to leave that just exactly as it is. All right, now this problem, a little bit different. I'm going to decide what my common denominator is, and then I'm going to go from there. They are not the same right away. So I know I'm going to put a fraction here plus another fraction equals, and then my final fraction for my answer. Now I start surveying the denominators. I see that there's an x and a y in this one, so I know my common denominator has to have at least x and y because everything has to show up at least once. So then I notice the 2. So that's going to go out in front. 2 times this stuff. And honestly, this x squared means that I'm multiplying it by 2. Remember, your common denominator has to be as big as every number. So if there's a number that's smaller than that, it's got to be bigger than that one because it compares to 2. So this x squared actually does cause me a problem. So I'm going to put that x squared there. So now what I start thinking about is, what does this combinator have that the regular denominator, original denominator, was missing. I notice that I have an x and a y, but this is x squared, so it's missing an x. I also notice it's missing the 2. So I go 2x times 5, which is 10x. Now I look at the next one. The 2's are both the same. The x squared is both the same, but it's missing this y. So I'm going to multiply this by y. And now I combine like terms. Well, unfortunately, they're not alike. So what I'm going to end up with is 10x plus 7y. Can I cancel the 2 and the 10? No, all or nothing. Next one. These two have absolutely nothing in common. And so what I'm going to do, and I'm going to write this out a little, I'll show you another way that I can write these out. So I know my common denominator has to be both those. So I'm going to right away write that down. Now I compare what's my denominator have, what's it missing that my common denominator has? Well, it's missing the n minus 2. Then I look at the next one. N minus 2 is already here, but it's missing the n plus 7. Okay, now the way this kind of changes, I usually do a fraction for every single one. In this case, I'm going to multiply them and get everything figured out. Leave it up top and then combine like terms. So I'm taking 4 times n, which is 4n, and 4 times negative 2, which is negative 8. Now here's the kicker. Make sure that you can include that sign. So negative 7 times n is negative 7n. And negative 7 times 7 is negative 49. The denominator is not going to change. Okay, so 4n minus 7n is negative 3n. Negative 8 minus 49 more is negative 57 for my answer there. Okay, similar type of problem. Actually, both these two look to be very similar. My common denominator, I don't know what those two share, so it's going to be v minus 3 and v plus 6. Okay, I compare. What's the denominator and the fraction have that my common denominator is missing or has? So which one is what's missing from the top? Well, I see the x minus 3, so that's not it. It's got to be the v plus 6. And the other one, it's missing the v minus 3. So now I multiply them. 5v times v is 5v squared. 5v times 10 is 50v. And the other one is 5 times v, which is 5v. And 5 times negative 3, which is negative 13. Okay, my denominator, v minus 3, v plus 6. Okay, I only see one v squared. And 55 and 5 is 50 and 5 is 55. V minus 13. Okay, the math in me says double check this. Make sure that you did not forget to multiply something or can't reduce it. I believe this is all done. That's a minus 13 there. Sorry, I got to write with my finger on this. It doesn't work very well. Okay, so now let's look at the next problem here. And let's decide what do we have to do with this one. So I'm looking at this, and I see they're both different. So that means my common denominator is going to be x minus 2 and x plus 1. Okay, so now what do I do? Well, what I'm going to do is, what's this denominator missing that this one has? Well, that's x plus 1. So 6 times x is 6x. 6 times 1 is 6. Now I'm going to look at the other one. What is x plus 1 missing that x minus 2 has? Well, it's missing an x minus 2. So I get plus 6x minus 12. And now I start to put together 6x plus 6x is 12x. 6 and 6 minus 6. So 6, let's see here, 6 minus 12. So that's going to be negative 6 on the top. And this is x minus 2, x plus 1. Now, even though I can factor this, I don't see that it's going to gain me anything. So I factored in my head, but it doesn't quite get me to where I need to be. Okay, deep into the pool. These are kind of fun. So the first thing I'm going to do is I better factor this so I know what the heck they're talking about. So let's see here, x and x. Well, multiplies to make 6 and subtracts to give me 4. That appears to be positive 6 and negative 2. Okay, and my other denominator, that's already set up. So my common denominator is x plus 6, x minus 2. And I compare. What's this denominator have that the common denominator is missing? In this case, it doesn't have anything. That denominator is the same as mine. So this ends up to be just x minus 1. And now I look at my common denominator, compare that to this, they're the same. So now here's something I would suggest. When I write this down, I'm going to distribute this negative sign to everything. So it's negative x squared minus 4x plus 4. All right, my bottom is x plus 6, x minus 2. I see an x squared, but it's a negative x squared. Should it be a negative x squared? Sure should be. Negative x squared. Negative 4x plus that plus x is negative 3x. Negative 1 plus 4 is plus 3. Holy cow, that seemed like a big one. But just make sure, factor that first, decide what it is, and then go from there. So like here, they're not the same. So I'm thinking this is an x, this is an x. Multiplies to make negative 21, adds to make negative 4. All right, so negative 4, how about if I go minus 7 plus 3? Yep, I believe that does it. So what's my common denominator? Well, I got 1x minus 7. I know I have another one, so I'm not going to write that down. And I got x plus 3. Now what do? I look to see what's it missing. The common denominator is x minus 7, x plus 3, and I have an x minus 7. So I'm going to multiply this by x plus 3. So x times x is x squared. X times 2 is 2x. And then 3x plus 3. I'm sorry, plus 6. The other one, nothing happened to it. So it's exactly the same as what it was before. X squared plus 4x plus 13. So I have x squared plus 5x plus 6 plus x squared plus 4x minus 13 all over x minus 7, x plus 3. So negative, got to be able to see that, I'm sorry. So x squared, 4, 5, 10, 10x, 6, and I believe that is a looks like it's a 2. So x squared plus 2, 8. Sorry about this. Over x minus 7, x plus 3. Okay, didn't do a very good job with this one, but the way that this works, and hopefully I can talk my way through this a little better. I'm looking for my common denominator. The first thing I do is, are these the same? If they're not, what do I do? So I found the common denominator in this one to be x minus 7, x plus 3. What do I have to multiply x minus 7 to make it x plus 3? I need to multiply this by x plus 3. Over here, I don't change them. So it's just x squared plus 3x plus 13, and I go from there. All right, that's that one. Now, this last one's, that's a challenging question. Hopefully you guys are up for it. We'll see how we do. Other than that, I hope you guys have a terrific day.